Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm Zoran Horatio Rodriguez Gvojic, and today we are continuing our seismological study of the Tremors franchise with Tremors 2 Aftershocks, released direct-to-video in 1996. Tremors 2 is a very special movie for me because it's the one I used to watch and quote constantly with my brother Alex. Yep. He got the normal name. In some ways, I love it more than the original. It's a great example of how to do a sequel. The core concept stays the same, but there are interesting new twists that keep things fresh. Originally set to be a theatrical release filmed in Australia for $17 million in 1993, the project was almost canceled when Kevin Bacon and Reba McEntire turned it down due to scheduling conflicts. And also,
I'm not gonna do Tremors 2. Tremors 1 was a bomb.
So without star power, it was deemed too expensive for a theatrical release and was moved to the home video division with a much lower $4 million budget. 1/3 of the original. But boy, did they stretch that sucker out. The original film's creators returned with their newly formed company Stampede Entertainment. Nancy Roberts and Ron Underwood produced while Brent Maddock and Steve Wilson wrote the script. And Steve took over directing duties since he directed Second Unit on Tremors 1.
It's a wrap.
The theatrical script was used, minus a few expensive scenes involving Burt in a full-size tank and everyone fighting the creatures with Civil War muskets. The only returning cast members were Fred Ward and Michael Gross. The new character of Grady is a reworking of Kevin Bacon's character from the original script, and the movie lets you know it.
Oh, actually, I'm not the original guy.
Despite its drastically lower budget and direct-to-video release, Tremors 2 holds its own against the original film. There's still tons of incredible practical effects by the returning amalgamated dynamics, a perfect balance of horror and comedy thanks to a tight script by Wilson and Maddock, and the trademark of any Tremors film, plans. Tremors 2 picks up years after the first film. Val and Earl had their brush with fame, but it didn't last. Val is married and living off-screen, while Earl makes ends meet by farming ostriches. He gets a second chance at fame and fortune when a Mexican oil tycoon hires him to go graboid hunting at a refinery in Mexico. He's teamed up with a taxi driver named Grady, our returning Atlanta Hawks fan Burt Gunner, and another geologist love interest. Together they explode their way to fortune and glory. That is, until the worms begin to turn.
It's a whole new ball game. A whole new goddamn ball game.
Will Part 2's Aftershocks be as strong as the originals? Let's find out and get to the kills. The movie begins with another simple and shaky title card, followed by a very special credit you'll be seeing in every movie after this. We fade into the Petromaya oil field in Chiapas, Mexico, which in reality is mostly jungle, but here it looks like Valencia, California, near Six Flags Magic Mountain. An oil worker, played by Thomas Rosales Jr., previously seen on the kill count as an El Scorpio gang member in Predator 2, and ignoring Peter Stormare in The Lost World, plays a game of Scooty Pipe, which is interrupted by an underground buoy. Graboid. The worker's only salvation lies at his sex van on the other side of this oil drum field. He Marios his way across until the barrels start crashing behind him. He takes an oil spill, and faster than you can say Exxon Valdez, we have our first graboid. Returning mechanical effects creator Peter Chesney and production designer Ivo Cristante improved upon the sand-clogged hydraulics and buried puppeteers from the first film. This time, they built a raised platform and used pure manpower and counterweights to burst the 200-pound creature through the ground, allowing it to devour our oil worker without even chewing. Oh, graboid, that's how you get a tummy ache. We return to Perfection Valley, Nevada, and Earl Bassett, once again played by Fred Ward, only with longer hair, since that's the only way he'd agree to do this movie. Seriously. He's now an ostrich farmer, and not a good one. Aw man, you dirtied up your shirt. Well, nothing a little jump cut can't fix. That's better. A taxi approaches all the way from Las Vegas. The passenger is Senor Ortega, a wealthy oil tycoon, and the driver is Grady Hoover, a dirt-poor hatted buffoon. He's played by Christopher Garton, who was once Sookie's fake fiance on True Blood. Ortega is played by Marcelo Tubert, previously seen in Leprechaun 3 as Gupta, who got a little love nibble from a little shit. No leprechauns here, but Kevin Bacon makes a quick cameo in an article from Madrid, Spain for some reason. Our non-union Mexican equivalent John Hammond explains there have been multiple deaths at his oil field due to certain underground animals. What are those things called again?
Graboids.
See? They're not Tremors, Mom! Senor Ortega needs someone with expertise to take care of these creatures. Earl is not interested, and apparently neither was Val.
Val married a good woman. Why would he want to die?
Yeah, that's reserved for his after-school Flatliners Club. Earl gets ready to cheer himself up with a little fridge sex, but Grady wants to convince him to take the job. He's a huge Tremors nerd, just like me, and he even geeks out over a graboid arcade game. You will be mine one day. Oh yes, you will be mine. Earl is resistant since he's come to accept the fact that he blew his one big chance, and his wall girlfriend agrees.
This October, 1974.
Yeah, she's there to remind me not to keep chasing after things I'm never gonna get.
Ooh, she's practical and practically naked. But hey, Earl is also hurting for money, and Grady tells him they're offering $50,000 per graboid kill.
Maybe this is your big second chance.
Earl finally agrees to let this movie's plot happen, and Grady insists on providing some impossible bacon.
You're gonna need a partner.
If only because Kevin was busy on the Apollo 13 mission. Earl and Grady head out as the fantastic score by Jay Ferguson transitions us from Nevada to Mexico. Jay is also known for composing A Nightmare on Elm Street 5 as well as the theme song for The Office. Head on over to the Dead Meat socials to see our Tremors Office mashup opening. You mostly won't regret it. Jay only wrote about 3 minutes of score for this movie, and you'll hear it used repeatedly, but it's so good, I don't think anybody cares. They arrive at the Petromaya field office, where they meet Pedro, the company's chief engineer. Senor Ortega informs them that they are willing to offer double the price if they're able to capture a live graboid, which causes Earl to ADR his feelings.
Never gonna come down here.
Hold that thought, because you haven't met Kate Riley, the geologist for the oil company and Lady Alan Grant cosplayer. What can I say? Geologists love to cosplay. She's played by Helen Shaver, who's had a long career both in front and behind the camera, appearing in the Amityville Horror, The Craft, as Littlefoot's mom in The Land Before Time, as well as directing episodes of Lovecraft Country, Law & Order, and Castle. This time she's directing Earl's attention to her, because you can't have a geologist in a Tremors movie without it getting all romantic. I mean, it is the world's sexiest profession. Just try saying cementation without thinking dirty thoughts. Ew. Night falls as a freshly shaven Earl makes small talk that leads to a nice and real moment of grief.
6 people got killed. People I knew.
But we won't count them per the rules set for us by James. The A stands for Almighty Janice. All hail Janice. James is life. Kate hands Earl a map to check out, but he's more interested in places a little further south. And luckily, Kate is interested as well, even if the landscape is a little flatter. Kate, like my mom, is curious where the name graboid came from.
Friend of ours, Walter Chang. He named him. Then they ate him.
But Grady returns from his Christmas Carol rehearsals with chains that'll help attract the graboids since they hunt by sound. And Julio, Kate's assistant, installs a seismographic monitor that will help them pinpoint any nearby graboids. So the next morning, Grady and Earl head to the graboid's last known whereabouts. Grady screams out the window like an infinite wallflower, and it does the trick as we get our first sighting. They stop the truck and unveil their Wile E. Coyote-style plan, involving a detonator, some dynamite, and a monster truck. Whoa, 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 that's not in the budget. Oh, it's an RC car filmed in slow motion. Oh, well played, movie. Well played. They drive this non-MCU Thor-themed toy around until they attract a graboid. Once the car's been sent to Valhalla, they detonate it with a big old explosion, and a great callback to the first film, as the Libby's pumpkin pie-filled pantyhose rain down upon them. Damn, I love the timing of that last little piece hitting. This one, however, comes from the wrong direction. Someone fire that PA! Well, we add our first Mexican graboid to Burt's hunting log. Time to celebrate with an epic graboid hunting montage, set to Travis Tritt's T-R-O-U-B, it's trouble, okay? Travis Tritt's trouble. Jesus Christ, what the fuck? I count 9 massive explosions that range from dry to super goopy, and we later learn that they've made $300,000 for these kills.
A piece.
Oh, so assuming the $300K was for Grady, that's $600,000 total, and at 50 G's a graboid, that makes 12 minus the one from earlier, so let's put 11 more on the log. Day turns to night, and the graboids might be the least of their worries, considering the enormous moon that must be hurtling towards the Earth at this point. Nevertheless, they catch some Z's while a coyote tries to warn them of the impending moonfall.
Man, he better keep quiet.
The next morning, Grady reveals what he's gonna do with his graboid greenbills.
Theme park.
Great idea, and here comes your first investor, as a graboid makes an impressive entrance. Achieved by building a 20-foot railroad track and ramming the graboid through some fake ground that isn't styrofoam this time. The graboid snags the Marley chain and helps the boys join the rat race with a super fun non-Jay Ferguson song. I don't know why, but I love the music in this movie. As they're dragged all across the valley, Earl loses his hat, silently calling back to a moment from the first film, while Grady loudly calls out another moment. But this graboid ain't got no goddamn plan! So instead he turns them around and strands them up on this residual boulder. The graboids swarm, swarm, swarm! And Earl and Grady escape by driving like a blind Rhonda. Ooh boy, they're gonna need some help deworming this place. So we cut to a very familiar wall and an even more familiar TV dad. Burt looking like me when they release a new season of Fortnite. He gets a call from Earl and we learn that his wife Heather has left him for SNL's Andy Samberg.
You know, she actually blames our problems on the collapse of the Soviet Union. What kind of thing does that say to a man?
They continue their pre-zoom catch-up as we get a great reveal gag showing that Burt has mounted that bastard on his goddamn rec room wall. We then end the scene on some class A Burt acting.
What kind of situation?
A graboid kind of situation.
Back at the refinery, Kate stares at Charlie Brown's Halloween candy until she realizes it's actually a fossil fragment of a graboid spike. And this rock is Precambrian, making graboids the oldest life forms on the planet. Earl isn't too happy about the newly discovered grab origins.
Damn. Always thought they're from outer space.
No, it's sandworms that are from Saturn. You hate them, right? I hate them myself. But no time for science stuff. We've got ourselves a situation. A giant graboid situation. False alarm, it's just Burt, the franchise stalwart Gunner. Burt meets everyone and gives another knowing wink to the audience when it comes to Kevin Bacon here.
He the new guy?
What's wrong with being the new guy? New guy or not, Burt's brought enough high explosive to kill any level of wascally worm. So they all head out to kill some more graboids and learn about Burt's favorite food.
Tired of the same old soggy food?
Have an MRE. What? Meals, ready to eat. Freeze-dried, foil-sealed. Gotta be foil. Plastic is not an oxygen barrier. Includes entree, cracker pack, cheese spread, beverage powder, spoon, coffee, cream substitute, candy, salt, matches, toilet tissue. Shelf life of 10 years. Buy them all the time. Saves trips to the supermarket.
Available now at our Dead MR Eat store.
Side effects of MREs include toilet paper jokes, perpetual bachelorhood, and shrieker multiplication. Burt uses a more cost-effective tank to do a little graboid fishing. He lands an off-screen catch and... another graboid is obliterated, but this kaboom might have been a little too much.
4 pounds of C4 may be a little excessive.
We'll add what's left of it to the log. Grady and Earl are wiping a graboid off their car and onto our log when they notice a nearby one moving away from them. Looks like graboids can make their own plans. And this one's throwing itself on the front of the truck like it wants a Saints Row insurance payout. This causes Earl to reverse and crash over a hill. He freaks out while Grady makes a plan without the previously required planning scene made famous in the first film. Ugh, what a noob! Grady plays bump bump with the graboid, but it doesn't seem interested. Okay, how about a game of tag? Nope, looks like the graboid ain't feeling so good. Grady, however, feels great because they just caught a live one worth 100 grand. And I don't mean the delicious candy bar. They radio Pedro to bring a tow truck, but he just got his learner's permit, so he's gonna take his sweet ass time. Night falls and Burt radios that he got 3 more graboids to add to the log. Oh yeah? Well, they got a live one! But based on the noise it's making, it might not be alive for long. We see an incredibly realistic quarter-scale graboid puppet writhing around like it took a shot of Malort. And when Grady and Earl investigate, they find a franchise-changing surprise. The graboid's busted open like a dime store piñata, reminding Earl of broken cocoons when caterpillars change into butterflies, or mogwais turn into gremlins. The folks at Amalgamated Dynamics hand-painted, hand-moved, and hand-slimed this grotesque work of art. And it's one of the few times a full-size graboid has been built, showing these creatures truly massive scale. After radioing back to the refinery but only getting static, they spot slow-ass motherfucking Pedro in his truck. Damn it, Pedro, you haven't been the same since spending so much time with your slow-ass motherfucking friend Hefe. They make the hike across the valley and discover Pedro's truck torn to shit. Luckily, Pedro is there to do his best Sam Jackson from Jurassic Park impression.
Pedro?
Yep, slow-ass motherfucking Pedro is now no-ass motherfucking Pedro, as he was eaten by whatever creatures came out of our graboid. Grady and Earl head out to the radio tower to find it looking like the last Radio Shack in America, and once again cut off, they try and hotwire a station wagon, but are interrupted by sounds from a nearby building. Yes, it's the next evolution in wormy terror. Meet the Shrieker! A mix of CGI and practical effects were used to bring this bipedal bastard to life. Once again designed by Tom Woodruff Jr. and Alec Gillis of Amalgamated Dynamics, who took a price cut to work on this film. They designed the creatures in their off hours while working on Jumanji, and these prehistoric chickens were handmade and hand-operated using a series of levers that almost everyone on set helped operate. I love that they're a family. There was also a puppet version that could be worn for close-ups, and puppeteer Yancy Caldaza described it as walking on your hands and knees with a 6-year-old kid on your neck. Oh, quit complaining. That's exactly what I go through when I babysit my nephew. Killing me! The CGI was handled by Tippett Studio, an effects house specializing in stop-motion animation for such films as RoboCop and Howard the Duck. The studio was created by Phil Tippett, who worked as a dinosaur supervisor on Jurassic Park. And I'm surprised they hired him after that whole Isla Nublar debacle. Those things were completely unsupervised. You had one job, Phil. One job. Luckily, he did his job here, and while the CGI might not hold up as well as Jurassic Park, they look a whole lot better than the CGI in the next movie. Trust me. The Shrieker spots Grady and Earl and lives up to its name.
Shit, it hurt him.
They take it out, and we take it to the log. They notice it doesn't have any eyes, just like the big ones. But before they can investigate further, a bunch more are heard approaching. They skedaddle out of there past 2 real shriekers and one that's possibly a cyborg from the future. The next day, Kate can't seem to get anyone on the radio, and Julio can't seem to greet her like a normal human being.
Julio, man, you scared me half to death.
That's okay, Julio. You have plenty of time to learn how to human. Never mind, as Julio is attacked and his leg is violently eaten, showing us that these little bastards are dangerous as fuck. Julio's dragged away and then ingested down by the schoolyard. Earl and Grady return, shooting one of the shriekers off screen, before finding Kate, who has a nice little human moment as she processes Julio's death and learns of Pedro's disarming end. But we can't mourn too long. We've got another practical effect to see, as one of the shriekers has torn up their only means of escape. Earl adds an inquisitive shrieker to the log, while Grady laments their situation.
They wrecked our car. Pedro's truck, the radio tower. How can they be so smart?
They head back inside just in time for math class. So, if there were 8 graboids left, and each one had 3 sacks, how many shriekers would that make?
24.
24 of
Right.
those things left.
Grady, stop cheating! Having killed 3 already, that leaves 21 shriekers left to deal with. Quite an undertaking, but luckily Burt has arrived, looking a little worse for wear.
I feel I was denied critical, need to know information.
Ooh, better get used to that, Birdie, because it's gonna happen a lot more in this franchise. Anyway, during the night he was ambushed by shriekers, and he ran over most of them and killed the rest with small arms fire and hand-to-hand techniques, because he's a fucking badass.
I am completely out of ammo.
That's never happened to me before.
While Burt takes a moment, we'll add 19 more shriekers to the log, because it turns out Burt was able to capture one of the little SOBs alive. They park the truck and do some Oscar-caliber acting with a rubber prop. But under the truck, another shrieker has gone all Cape Fear and stowed away. Not finding any rakes to comedically step on, they grab a snack with their puppet tongue. And speaking of puppets, it's time for the Muppet Show with your host, Brewin the Frog! Yay! Our Statler here doesn't seem amused by the show, so they bring out their special guest, Michael Gross's hand! Yay! The shrieker goes wild, but it's not because it's a Family Ties fan. This sucker's taking a page from the Predator handbook and using infrared to detect its prey by heat. That explains why they tore up the cars and the radio tower, since they emit all kinds of heat.
You mean they've been acting so smart because they're so stupid?
Well, at least they're not as stupid as these outfits you use for the infrared effect. Look like a bunch of goddamn Lego minifigs. Anyway, they feed the shrieker some of Burt's MREs.
Available now!
And it promptly gets sicker than myself playing drunk Mario Kart with a bottle of SoCo. But this isn't drunk sickness, it's morning sickness, as it gives birth to a slimy little shriekling. Looks like our Statler finally has his Waldorf. This effect was achieved by using a full-size shrieker for the baby, but putting it inside an oversized cage, and having multiple puppeteers recreate the miracle of mouth birth. But how is this reproduction possible?
Hermaphrodites.
Which means these animals have both male and female traits, and once they've had enough food, they can reproduce asexually at an exponential rate.
Hell, that gives him quite an edge.
And gives me the impossible job of counting these little screamy memes when they die. And I thought this hunting log would be a fun idea. A shrieker barges in and Earl hits it with a rock hammer, which is basically a pickaxe, proving Nestor's plan from the first film was sound.
Hooray!
The shriekers have gotten into Burt's MREs, and while they have a food orgy, everyone else escapes to a nearby warehouse that, didn't get all its permits yet. Luckily, the shriekers' heat sensors can't find them. So, looks like it's time for a famed Tremors planning scene. First, Burt, oh shit, they're just going for it without a planning scene. Well, fuck me! Earl and the rest cleverly use doors to hide their body heat and make their way to Julio's truck. Unfortunately, one of the shriekers had the same idea, and Burt only has 1 bullet left for his Lar Grizzly Big Bore single-shot 50 caliber Browning machine gun rifle. I looked it up, bitches! Ha ha! He takes aim at the shrieker as it considers quitting human killing and going to law school. Oh shit! That explosion is incredible. Done with a practical dummy puppet suspended from a crane. And a hand knocking out that glass window there. Also, that's a real 8-inch bullet actor Michael Gross is firing, leading us to add a very sloppy shrieker to the log.
You smoked his ass.
Doing what I can with what I got.
Unfortunately, what you got is a very cool tracking shot that illustrates the power of your gun. Burt's shot took out the fuel line on Julio's truck, but don't blame him.
We're supposed to be up against graboids. I wanted maximum penetration.
Oh, if that's all you wanted, I think they sell those pills behind the counter at the liquor store. They head to the cantina for shelter, but get separated when they're spotted by the local shrieker choir. Grady heads up a nearby tower, Burt hops into a bulldozer, while Earl and Kate make it to the cantina and arm themselves with Broomit and his wife, Miss Moppy.
Oh, this is pathetic.
Hey, I'm trying here. Why don't you just stick to your formula and leave the jokes to me?
I've got a plan.
That's more like it. Earl runs some hot water on a jumpsuit while Kate goes all Roadhouse on one of the shriekers. The CGI creatures reassure each other that they'll never look dated, while Earl puts the steaming hot jumpsuit on a clothesline and sends it out as a distraction. The plan works, allowing Kate and Earl to make it to the nearby oil tower with Grady. Tempers begin to flare as their current situation seems dire.
We're stuck on a goddamn roof with a bunch of watches trying to eat us. I mean, I've done this before, and I did not like it.
Why don't you just ask that van back there for help? Whoops, looks like we gotta fire another PA. Kate convinces everyone that someone will eventually come looking for them. So now we play the waiting game. Oh, the waiting game sucks. Let's play Screamy Screamy Shriekers. Grady wins at the cost of the Shrieker's self-esteem. Earl and Kate push their romantic subplot forward by sharing cute banter and backstory. We learned that Kate used to be a model.
I was even a playmate once.
Wait, Earl, did you hear that?
October 74?
Yep, she's the one you've had on your wall all those years, reminding you not to chase after things you're never gonna get. And technically, you'll never get that particular bunny since she's actually Debbie Ellison, Miss September 1970. They changed it because the real Miss 74 didn't look like Helen Shaver. The Shriekers start to Cirque du Soleil their way up the oil tower while Burt wakes up from a little bulldoze. He hops into action and leads the Shriekers' copy and pasted walk cycle into a warehouse, shuttering the gate so they can't escape. Problem solved. Anything to add, Grady?
How'd you ever be so stupid?
Hello again, Pot. This is the kettle, and that kettle is going off. Looks like they found some food to eat in that warehouse. So I think we're gonna need another plan.
You're gonna squirt me with this!
CO2 will make you cold.
Right, they won't see me.
Earl's gonna get inside and blow up these Shriekers with a bomb. So he gets sprayed down with a fire extinguisher.
Man, this stuff is cold!
And I can't tell you how many times my brother Alex and I said that quote while we were living in Chicago. Mwah! Love you, bro. Why'd I kiss my fingers?
The Shriekers can't see Earl thanks to his Mr. Freeze impression, so he can just chill out while making it past a crap ton of CGI and practical puppets. After a while, he begins to melt like a snow cone in Phoenix, which gets him spotted by a Shrieker, causing these pint-sized Precambrians to pounce. He tosses a bomb into the truck and the others lower a fire hose to his rescue. Earl does a Tarzan swing, but gets a 3 on the dismount while the Shriekers push away boxes to reveal they're actually robots! Earl climbs to freedom and tells everyone that he set a bomb while he was in there.
You what?
Yep, right on top of 2.5 tons of high explosives. We should be safe behind this warehouse, though.
No, no, no! Keep going! It's gonna be big!
They keep running till they find a ditch of convenience and take cover. Because like Burt said,
It's gonna be big! Is it gonna be today?
the answer is a resounding... Still to this day, one of my all-time favorite movie explosions. This scene was filmed with an incredibly detailed miniature, shot at a high frame rate to give it the proper and epic weight this explosion deserves. Grady is tossed into the trench like a sack of potatoes to match his IQ. And there's a moment of silence before the PAs toss out the remaining Shrieker props before the rap party.
Wait, no rap party?
Damn you, budget! As they approach the crater formerly known as the refinery, Earl and Kate make plans for the future, and Grady points out how many graboids should be in our log.
They owe us for 28 worms, man.
Oh, I love it when movies do my work for me. Oh, and what about all the little ones that died in the explosion? Well, based on the largest wide shot I saw in the warehouse, I counted 19 Shriekers before Earl dropped the bomb. So let's add them to the log. The refinery aftermath is shown in a beautiful matte painting done by master painter Rocco Giaffari that writer-director Steve Wilson got to keep after production. And so we end this movie with Grady asking Earl to be his partner in his theme park monster world.
No way.
Come on, Earl. This could be like your big third chance.
How many big second chances did the graboids give our human cast to survive? Let's find out and get to the numbers. But first, Papa needs a quick 50 G's. Goddamn PAs! Only 3 people died in Tremors 2, all of them men, giving us a chart bluer than the Mexican Valencia sky. With a runtime of 100 minutes, that gave us a kill on average every 33 1/3 minutes, which coincidentally is the Naked Gun film Fred Ward starred in. Who knew? The humans stepped up their game this time with a whopping 28 graboid kills and at least 42 Shriekers to add to the hunting log, giving us a Precambrian lifeform kill every 1.43 minutes. We'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to Julio. That leg chewing was gnarly as hell, and it's the only time we actually see these Shriekers doing damage. Plus it emotionally scarred Kate, and that's always a plus. Bill Machete for lamest kill will go to Pedro, because I don't like the trend of ripping things off from Jurassic Park. I'm looking at you, Tremors 5. Burt's hunting trophy goes to the Shrieker blown up by Burt's Lar Grizzly Big Bore single shot 50 caliber. Oh, fuck the name of this gun! Still love that kill though.
And that's it. Tremors 2 Aftershocks came out in 1996 and did well enough on home video to warrant another sequel, Tremors 3 Back to Perfection, which I'll be looking at in 2 weeks. Until then, I'm a half-Serbian man from Chicago. This has been the Kill Count.
On the next Kill Count.
You've seen them under the ground. You've seen them on the ground. So what could possibly be next?
For all you know, they can fly.
Sure, why the fuck not? Tremors 3 Back to Perfection may return to the Nevada town we know and love, with a bunch of the cast that started it all. But this is far from being a perfect film.
And your point would be?
A new writer, truncated shooting schedule, and the worst-looking CGI worm since Jabba the Hutt make for an uneven entry in the franchise.
Well, you don't have to be so mean.
But luckily, we still have the crew at Stampede Entertainment to bring us memorable lines,
Ass Blaster Blitzkrieg.
a new graboid evolution,
Sons of bitches are always on a learning curve.
and more goddamn plans.
You have to plan to be a viable entity in today's economic landscape.
Oh, and Burt is back too.
Damn right I am.
And that's worth the price of admission right there. So quit lighting your farts. And close out the first trilogy of this 7-film series by watching Tremors 3 Back to Perfection. Then on Friday, February 11th, tune in for the Kill Count only on Dead Meat.
And that's why we're at the top of the food chain.
Tremors 3 Back to Perfection can currently be watched on the pictured streaming platforms. Dead Meat always recommends you watch the movie for yourself before its kill count. It's the only way to have your own properly informed opinion. Kill counts are never meant to replace the experience of watching a film.
Thanks for watching what might be my favorite Tremors film, and thank you so much for the overwhelming support you have given me. Honestly, I have been in the comments section, and you are an amazing community for letting me be the mic to James's Joel. That's a Mystery Science Theater reference. But honestly, I am so honored to be here, and I am excited for the next few months to be taking you through the rest of these films, so come along for the ride. And just like I said last week, we're gonna take this time in the end card to check in with Buddy Boss James. So let's head to the James cam.
Oh, he must be cooking a nice meal for Chelsea. Oh, looks like he needs a little oregano or maybe some thyme, even though he's got plenty of time because he— Go! Ghostface! What are you doing? No, do not touch his sauce. You did not even measure that? You must have ruined that. You have no sense of taste. Well, never mind.
Be good people.